This is a diopter, and they come in very useful for anamorphic lenses. I'll get to that in a minute. Today we're talking about the Surrey 35mm full frame anamorphic lens. It's beautiful, it's really small. It's apparently the world's smallest anamorphic lens, and it's very affordable because it comes in at $1,299, which is extremely cheap for an anamorphic full frame cine lens. $1,299. There is a link down below if you do want to pick it up. I'm going to get through the boring stuff straight off the bat. Just go right through it so you guys know what it's about, and then we're going to talk about nitty-gritty, how I actually feel when using this lens. So this lens is 10 centimeters tall. It comes in at 408 grams, which is really light, meaning that you can use it on drones, not the mini series, but larger drones. You can use it on gimbals. I have been using it on the DJI RS3 Mini a lot. I was out with my daughter in the mountains, in the snow. We were having fun with this lens, just running about. And I got to tell you, I didn't get tired at all because it's a very small setup. Using it on a gimbal like that is absolutely fantastic. So 408 grams is really great for a little lens like this. It has cine gears. So cine gears means that you can use it, with your hand, but it's better if you have a actual follow focus. You can get a manual one, for example, from SmallRig. They do a really nice one. You can see a review up here. Or you can get an electronic one. Tilta one, the Nano, I use that, but I use the Axon a lot more. I find it to be just a little bit nicer to use. And it's really simple. It means you just strap on a 15mm rod to your cage. You strap on the actual focus motor, connect it to a V-mount or a power bank would probably be better if you've got a small setup, and you have a focus wheel which you could do wirelessly. I mean, that works really great. You can set A to B points so you can hit your focus perfectly every single time. That is the best way to use one of these lenses. The actual focus throw is 120 degrees, so that's really nice. It makes it easy to to grab that focus. And both the aperture and the focus obviously are declicked, but they feel great. They've got the perfect amount of resistance just to make them a pleasure to use. The actual lens is available in a blue or a neutral flare, which is really important to me because blue flares are a little bit, I don't know, childish, a little bit too sci-fi. The neutral flares means that the flare is dependent on the light source. So if it's green, it's going to be kind of greenish. If it's yellow, it's going to be kind of yellowish. It's dependent on that. It feels a little bit more grown up, and that you have a lot more control and you don't just have crazy blue avatar flares everywhere. I love that Surrey have gone with the neutral flares option, and I hope every single one of the lenses along the way will have that option, because it just means that you can control what you're doing with this fantastic little lens a lot more. It uses 58mm filters, so I use a V&D from Polar Pro and a step-down adapter. Not step-down rings, a step-down adapter. It means it's a little bit thicker, it goes straight from 82 to 58mm, and that just makes it really neat and easy to use. I also use diopters, so little pieces of glass that are like magnifying glasses that you put on the front of your anamorphic lenses, or any lens you really want, but they're needed for anamorphic lenses because this lens has 90 centimeters for its minimal focus distance, which means it's not like a normal 35mm lens where it's about 30 centimeters, it's 90, so about 3 times that. Meaning that when you stick one of these on, it's going to shorten that minimal focus distance. And from 90 centimeters, I did a few tests, you can have a look at them right here. This is 90 centimeters, so absolutely no filter. This is what you're going to get for minimal focus distance. This is the +1 diopter. It's about 60 centimeters, so you can get a nice portrait with this on. With the diopter +2, you can see that distortion starts creeping in. It's still usable, and it's got a bit of character. With the diopter 4, it gets very weird. I mean, it's still a look, and you can get some nice close-ups with it, but, it's quite difficult. Now, when it comes to the +10 diopter, things get really crazy, and you can see the distortion is wild. You can get some really nice close-ups, so if you do need them, you can opt for this option. So you can see you can get really close, like this close to my eye, using the 10 times. It It gets a little bit, weird in places sometimes with the 10 times. I would really just leave it to the 1 times and the 4 times, or the 2 times at least. 4 times might get a little bit vignetting on the side already because the 10 times does a lot, but I especially did it in that room so you can see just in a normal kind of environment. So it's not just on a white space, but you can see that, you can actually create something with the diopters and they come in really handy. I bought a whole load of them, by the way. So I will be doing another film just to help you choose which diopters to buy, because there are quite a few. Some are a little bit sharper than others, some vignette a little bit more than others. So I'll get that film out as soon as possible. So 58mm filter size on this sucker. Do remember that if you want to get mists or anything. But like I said, I always go for 82mm and then, adapt down, except for these, because they're really cheap. They're easy to buy in the size that you have right here. Now this is a 2.9, a T2.9 aperture lens. You may think to yourself, that's not enough, is it, Phil? I mean, I like the 1.4. Well, T2.9 is fine. I mean, it's very rare that you'll actually see a feature film filmed on 1.4. It gets tiring. It kind of makes you a little bit sick, Most feature films are done on 4, 5.6. You have a lot more, in focus than you do than 1.4. But the T2.9 is fine. I like that it does still isolate your subject from your background, and it gives it a really nice cinematic look. And is it a little bit too dark for filming at nighttime? Well, I did a test with myself using a candle, a real candle. It's not. It's funny because it's a wax candle that you can blow out. Crazy stuff nowadays. And it looked good. It was at ISO 1250 T2.9 with candle. It looked great. Sony A7S III. So I think it's fine. A lot of the lenses are 2.8, the zoom GM. So T2.9 really is fine for a lens. You don't have to worry about it, especially with these new cameras. They can really bump up the ISO and you don't have to worry about it at all. And it goes all the way down to T16. So you've got f-stops and you've got t-stops. T-stops are for cinema lenses. Inside you're going to have 10 aperture blades and 18 elements in 13 groups. Whatever the hell that means. I really don't know. I guess it's got 18 pieces of glass jammed into 13 groups. Something like that. It's a lens. I don't know how it's actually stuck together inside. I just know how to use it and what you can really get out of it. 22mm. This is a 22mm lens. It's a 35mm lens, but horizontally, it's 22mm. That's really wide. Now, vertically, 35. Horizontally, with the stretch, it's got a 1.6 times stretch. So if you go into your little X and you want to type in 160%, then it's going to stretch out to 160%, 1.6 times on this, this lens, which is really great. And it does give it a beautiful cinema-like. You don't have to put black bars on the top and bottom. It's already there. It's done. It's looking great. It's a very sharp lens, and at the same time, it's got very, very filmic qualities. It's soft on the edges, but it's sharp. It's soft on the edges, but it's sharp. It gives this really, really wonderful look that I've enjoyed a lot using it. Now, it does have a tiny bit when it comes to focus pulling. It says it's a constant anamorphic, which it is, but you can see that the edges go in a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So there's a little bit of breathing, but not really that much. If you're going from full minimum focus distance to infinity, it's just a tiny bit, and it's not really that noticeable. So all in all, this lens, what you can get out of it, the instant feature film quality you can get out of this lens is incredible, and I can't wait to test out more of the series lenses. I've seen they've got the 135mm, which apparently they're sending me, and I think, something like with 35 and 135mm, mind blown. I really do recommend this lens. You guys know my channel, you know me, I'm very honest. This is not something that I would just say, hey, go out and buy. But if you want to make awesome films, this lens right here will help you, and it's very, very diverse. You can do a landscape and you can do a portrait with it, and it'll always look good. 24 millimeters is a little bit wide to do everything, but 35 is basically the perfect focal length for me. For me, it's perfect. It's perfect. Love it. Thank you, Siri, and thank you for the neutral flares. That's beautiful. Catch you guys soon.